Burn Unit with your host, the amazing Johnathan.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Burn Unit. I believe this is number 42. We've done 42.
Busy boy.
Yeah, this is your second. First as co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host Sophie Evans. Or as I like to say, that bitch. My bitch. She my bitch. You gotta do the duck face.
And you're gonna do that thing with it, don't you?
Camel toe.
No! When the guys do, the rappers do that thing, don't they? When they go, what's that bitch? And they put their hand out like
Yeah,
that.
don't do that around them because I give them the wrong signs. Like this was like fucked me up the ass once in Venice Beach. I didn't know that. Like, hey dude, what the fuck is that? Bad. Don't make gang signs to it.
Boy, I'm glad I don't even know that sign.
Yeah. So our guest today is also an Australian,
Yes.
as you are. Onya, mate.
Onya. Onya.
Where the word yes has 3 syllables. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything sounds like a question.
Yeah. Yeah. It always goes up at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's never a problem.
No worries.
Problem. No worries, mate.
No worries.
No worries. Even when you kick them in the balls, they're like, no worries, mate.
Yeah.
No worries.
No walking forries on that one. No walking forries.
So let me tell you a little bit about this guy, Sophie. You know Joel.
I do.
You actually picked him to be one of your assistants in a magic show in Australia.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool because we hooked up in Vegas, but I didn't know it.
Right. Joel gets around. And, as a 12-year-old boy, he used to camp out in front of my hotel room and wait for me to come out. He used to call the comedy clubs, try to talk to me. He was a real pain-in-the-ass groupie.
Aww.
But he was little, so any young boy that's 12 years old, I give a second chance. I give him the benefit of the doubt.
You do what you can.
Yeah, to get him up to my room. He never got up there. He was a pain in the ass. He could have been. But, oh, you read what you want into that. That's not what I meant. I meant that he was going to come up and I was going to fuck him up the ass. I don't know what you dirty minds were thinking. But anyway, you never had an intro like this ever. So
if you have
later on, his dad, who owned a very, very large advertising company, got me a commercial. Little Joel, 12 years old, pestered his dad into giving me a $60,000 Vicks commercial for one afternoon.
Yay, Joel!
He was no longer the little pain in the ass. He was my pal Joel.
Oh, that's like a Disney story.
Which gives you privileges to be my pal. I got to borrow his computer whenever I wanted to. Would go to Australia, he would let me use his computer. In exchange, he would steal my driver's license and put it on his wall. Creepy? Yeah, kind of.
Oh, it's all so sweet.
Yeah, there's more to the story than this. But I want him out here for it. Ladies and gentlemen, he went on to become a comic force to be reckoned with in Australia. After working with me for years and years, he went off on his own. He's now a comedian. He's doing really, really well. Mr. Joel Osborn, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay!
Comedian!
Good to see you.
Have a seat, Joel.
Thank you.
So, everything I said is pretty right on there, except for being fucked up the ass in my hotel room?
Yeah, besides that, there's little bits that are left out of the story.
Oh yeah, there's creepier stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I wasn't camping outside your hotel.
Not camping.
No, I was just hanging outside.
Stalking, that's
Coincidence!
No, you invited me over to the hotel.
Oh, now it's getting
Ixnay on the
Think the interview's over?
I never invited you over to the hotel.
Yeah, I'd never seen your show before. When I was when you first came to Sydney to do the shows, my dad said I got tickets for us to go see the amazing Johnathan, and I wasn't aware.
Who did? Who knew who I was at that?
And I came and saw the show. It was your opening night there in Sydney, and I was just blown away. It was like an epiphany. I knew then that's what I want to do when I grow up.
Yay!
So that was a life-changing experience. And then I came back and saw the show again. You invited us backstage.
Yeah.
And then you said, you want to come and see the show anytime. Just.
I didn't mean every night though, Joel.
So yeah, I came back to the story, and then I said, you know, do you have like a fan club or anything that I can write to? You know, I was just a 12-year-old kid with, you know.
Yeah, why would anyone else want to do a fan club that wasn't over 12?
Yeah. So I went. I then wrote to you numerous times. I never received any reply.
Never got the letters, Joel. Oddly enough.
Well, when you came back to Australia, we ran into each other and backstage at the Enmore Theatre when you were shooting the commercial.
Another coincidence.
And then and I said, hey Jonathan, you know, I met you years ago. I'm a big fan. And you just went, Joel. And this was after like
I knew his name.
And then,
only because I had signed his shirt. It said, to Joel, Amazing Johnathan.
I was the one. And then
that happened.
Yeah.
That happened on the street. Some guy came up to me and he said, Amazing Johnathan? I went, Robert? You know my name? I went, it's on your shirt. He was wearing my shirt and I had signed it to Robert. He felt like a real doofus thing.
But after you had left Australia, then I became like a comedy nut. I'd go to the comedy store all the time. And Akmal, who was Peter at the time, who opened for you, he used to let me into the comedy store because they would throw me out for being underage. And he would you got me that commercial, and then we became pretty good. I taught you magic. Yeah. I said his dad's giving me 60 grand. The least I could do is show him how to do hippity hop rabbits or whatever it was. And yeah, well, for the next morning, you brought me along on the whole press.
Stay with the next morning. You are a comic. You're a kidder.
So we went around and did the Good Morning Australia and the Today Show
all the
morning shows. So and then you came back shortly afterwards. You did Melbourne and did a huge theatre tour of Australia.
Yeah.
And I remember someone saying
they thought I was legendary in Australia. They always come up to you, you're legendary, Amazing Johnathan. Then I found out later that their dogs were legendary, that the soup is legendary.
Yeah.
Everything's fucking legendary. This soup is legendary, mate. I'm like, well, fuck, okay. I get it.
It's a bit like being brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. In England, everything
food always tastes like it's like women's terms. The food is beautiful, or the food is gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's a
it's weird with the American accent though. It's easy for an Australian to do the American accent, but for an American to do the Australian accent,
it's real hard.
Not even Meryl Streep, one of the greatest actors alive. She couldn't even remember that film. I think I took my baby.
The dingo stole my baby.
But last week I was with Steve, a mutual friend of ours, on the Warner Brothers movie lot set, and we're looking at the garage, and there was a group of Australians that came over. I walked over to him and said, hey, I can do a great Australian accent. And like, yeah, whatever. And I said, g'day, mate, how you doing? They're like, my God, you can do it. It's so spot on.
Did you do an American accent first?
Yeah, I come
do your American accent.
I'm like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm American. A little bit? A little bit. From California.
California. Australians will put an R on the end of everything.
I remember the shark. You guys go shark, and we're like shark.
Yeah.
Shark.
Yeah. And also the words bull, ball, and bull are sounded to an Australian as bull, bull, bull. All three are the same. So you could get hit
by a
bull.
Yeah, while trying to catch a ball.
Thinking it was a bull.
But at least we kept the T in the middle of the word interesting.
Yeah.
What is that? America got...
Oh, they're ganging up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, there's a T in it.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Okay, how do you say Nike?
Nike.
Nike. How do you say Adidas running shoes? Adidas.
But
and Puma.
But we're from England, and that's who spawned the language. So
it's quite difficult when we do it correctly.
Yeah. But Australians are very lazy though with the way they talk.
They are. And the north of English are the worst though, because they do whole bits of words.
How do you spell tire? T-Y-R-E.
And check.
We say mum as opposed to mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this has become like a linguistic episode.
No. Here. Let's get out of this by jumping fast. Rewind to Joel's mom coming over to visit Joel in the United States. When Joel was, how old were you when I hired you to come over?
No, there's a lot of gaps to this story. But
what's the gap?
Basically, well, there was all that leading up to when you came out to Sydney. When I was 19. And you came out to Sydney and you had a falling out with your manager in Sydney and you had no one to manage or promote the...
you started working with me when you were 16.
Yeah, we're doing the Magic Kids, yeah. But this was like
I brought you over to the States when you were 19?
Yeah. After I promoted that season.
Yeah.
And it was a big success. Everyone made a lot of money.
That's right. I let you promote one of my tours, and then you hooked up a nice room, and we made a lot of money. Everybody was happy.
But everything with Johnathan has always been the deep end theory. You know, everything I've ever done for Johnathan has been like, all right, Joel, you do it. And it's like a huge responsibility. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but somehow managed to pull it off.
Yeah,
I
throw you in over your head. That's how I learned. Yeah, I'm still way over my head. Some of us drown. Some of them, like you, float back to the top. Yeah, but I mean, I've always done it that way. I mean,
yeah, and it's a great way.
Because the people that know what they're doing don't really fucking know what they're doing. So I figured.
Well, there's that naivety to it. I think that really helps. I remember when I was.
You were scared of getting yelled at. You said tonight. You said,
yeah,
if this mic thing went on when I was working for you,
heads would have rolled.
Heads would have rolled.
Yeah, totally. But back in the day when I was working for you, it was like, you know, everything had to be on the money and be done on time.
Exactly what you mean.
And just tonight, just watching you sort of kick back, and we waited like an hour and a half for the mics to get set, and you were just like, whatever. And if that was back in the day, that would have just been. Oh my God. We wouldn't have needed mics, it would have been that loud, the time.
Yeah. It's called, if I stress out like that now, I die of a heart attack. Everything is zen.
That's a good
I'm
way
in a
to
zen
be.
state of frustration.
But it's weird, but it's that naivety that, I think that works. You know, because you don't, if you knew what
you try to prove yourself to me and you don't want to let me down, therefore you go out the extra mile. As opposed to someone who has a proven track record and is charging me a huge arm and a leg. And they have nothing to prove, you know.
Yeah.
It's good. And plus, everyone like that works really cheap.
Yes, slave labor. Yeah.
Slave labor. So, so cut to now. You're working for me,
yes.
And Joel's mom comes to visit and tells us stories about Joel that Joel doesn't want told, quite frankly, because they're very, very personal stories about when his dad left and his mom and dad were divorced.
Yeah.
You know I can tell these.
And keep in mind, within the stories that my mum, I couldn't believe she was telling them. Like, what are you doing?
They're very personal stories, and I was.
So Johnathan would go.
On the floor
He'll tell you shortly, I'm sure. But Johnathan would go on the radio telling these stories.
They were as personal as it gets.
Like
they are what shaped Joel to be the man he is today.
And everyone at the dinner table is like, oh, it's so sad. And Johnathan's there with his notepad, pissing himself, writing it all down.
Everybody's so sad, and I'm crying. Let me give you an example of how tragic the divorce was for Joel. Joel used to draw. This is his mom. Joel used to draw beautifully until the divorce, and then he was like, well, how old were you when they got divorced? 10 or 11?
Yeah.
But then
I was younger than that.
Yeah. But now he only draws stick men. Now he only draws stick men. Joel's like, Mom, shut up! Don't tell that story.
Well,
I'm sorry, Joel. And then she'd go into another one. Here's another one, Sophie. This one's the best. Oh, this is Joel's teacher in 11th grade when he was little. Everybody who thinks they're special, put your hands up. Everybody in the class except for Joel.
Oh.
Little Joel, why aren't you special? If I was special, my dad wouldn't have left my mom. I find a lot of comedy.
He does that. Though my friend's dog was electrocuted.
Yes, the dog that was electrocuted.
And she was devastated. And she comes to see me at work. Now I've told Johnathan about this dog dying.
How did it die? It's how it died. It got locked out of the house at 4th of July, and the fireworks made this thing so nervous that it tried to claw its way through the wall of the house, back into the house, and died on the electric wires, with his mouth gripping on the fucking power line. Fried.
Wasn't my dog. It was my friend's dog.
Get that image of a dog with explosives going on behind him, trying to get through this fucking wall of a house, succeeding only to find electric wires. What are the chances of that? There's wires that only go through a certain amount of the house. It was like one of those meters. It was like one of those fucking stud meters. It latched on and got electrocuted and fried it. And the power company wouldn't come out and remove the dog. They made her do it. See, it's funny.
Well, that's funny unless you're sitting in the back of the showroom consoling your friend, having bought her a drink, and in the distance, you start to hear, this dog electrocuted. And we're like, what? And Johnathan's worked it into the show. It's 20 minutes.
She's in the audience.
So he's worked this dog death into the show, and it's coming to her bit by bit. She's like, the dog.
Is he talking about my dog?
I think he might be.
Can you imagine prying the thing's jaws out that long? He's like fucking roast beef like. Oh God.
You got a track record with dogs.
We're not done with your story. You're not done with your stories. You're not done with your stories.
But there's an underlining sort of message to the story. Because if you look at a lot of the good comedians, they've all had strange relationships with their father. Either their father's left, or they've died, or they never knew their father. And you look at
yours, all three.
Well. But if you look at and that's also comedy, rule of three, you know. So you know, it's a trifecta.
Okay, here's one. Joe's sitting on Santa Claus's lap, right? For a abnormally long time. And his mom gets curious as to why Joel is still talking to Santa. All the other kids are, I want a football, off. I want it off. Joel's there just yakking away and a little tear. And Joel's mom went over to hear, and here's what he's saying. I just want my dad to come back for Christmas. That's all I want. Oh, it's boom! Oh, look at that one! Even got them. That one even got them.
He is crying.
Well, it must have been nice to have this lovely father.
And I come in as the father.
The surrogate father steps in. Who
made it all.
Yeah.
You never had to worry about that. I would never leave you like that, Joel. I would never leave you.
No, you'd be waking me up at 3 in the morning. Come on, Joel, we got to go and make masks down in the garage.
We got a drug run. We got to
do a drug run to Anaheim. Come on.
We made a drug run.
That's when I knew that I had to reevaluate my life. Serious. This is when Johnathan was going through a very difficult time.
Very difficult.
And he was giving up drugs, and it was
trying to.
And so there's Johnathan and me in the house, and you know we were like 24/7. You know, like on the road, always touring. I lived at Jonathan's house in LA.
My cunt of a wife, who we'll call Sandra, who went back to hell because apparently hell couldn't be run properly without her.
Well, let's give him the full story then. That night that happened, because Sandra's parents were there, we had got back from Vegas.
We got back from Vegas.
And I was, because I used to stay at the airport and get all the equipment, and then Johnathan and Sandra would go back to the house, and I would be getting like 9 road cases and putting them on 2 trolleys.
It used to be Sandra.
And then I get back to the house, and suddenly I just entered this like shitstorm. Like there was like clothes everywhere. There was, Sandra's parents were there. Sandra wasn't there. It was just Johnathan standing there. And
she told me she was leaving me.
Yeah.
And I had bought her a Porsche, that red one right there. Yeah. And I bought her that as a gift the day she left me. It was gift wrapped in the driveway. And I said, "Get it out of there. She's leaving me." And they didn't believe me, but they drove the car away. And when Jill got back to the house, I was in the process of throwing everything out the window. So I said, "Oh, you're fucking leaving? Well, you can go now then." And I was throwing everything she owned. I got everything she owned out of the house within about 30 seconds. A lifetime of memories.
It was like a quick change, like the dress thing, but it was
just the whole wardrobe.
Yeah.
Everything went. Oh, look, our wedding candle.
But everyone was involved in this this storm. Her parents were there and everything. So they went to a hotel in town, and then all the friends come over, like Brian Gillis. Has Brian been on the show?
Yes.
Yes. Brian was on the show, and a bunch of other friends, and they were all at a hotel in the marina. So I go past. I don't know if you want me to tell it.
Yeah, go ahead. It's the best story ever.
I go.
My pain is your pleasure. Your pain is my pleasure.
I go past the bed because Johnathan used to keep a .44 Magnum gun under the bed, like Dirty Harry, and I walk past his bedroom and I see him in bed just going like this with the gun, and I'm.
He saw that with the door closed. Tell him why.
What?
The door was closed when you saw that. How is that possible?
No.
Oh yeah, it was. I punched a hole through the door.
No, this was later. That was later than that.
Oh. I thought you saw it through the punch.
Oh no. But you know when you see something like this, you think it's got to be like a silver remote or something. I must have been seeing. So I just left it up there. I go down to the hotel to check in on.
It's good that he thought he saw a gun in my hand and he went. Must
be it. No, because you wouldn't have been doing that. And I'm going through this in my mind. Wasn't it? I get down to the hotel and there's Sandra there with her parents and Brian and everyone. And
you tell me Brian was there.
Brian Gillis was there.
My friend was over at Sandra's hotel room.
Yeah,
Traitor, Brian, if you're watching this, you fucking traitor.
No. and Rebecca was there, and because they're all concerned, they're figuring what's happening, what's going on. But
no, leave Johnathan along with Magnum.
No one was coming to the house. So I I get to the hotel, and they're all shaking and worried. And I'm like, what's going on? And Sam just said, well, I just got off the phone with Johnathan, and he said, well, if she's not going to be in the life, then that's it. It's over.
It's a plea.
You're not going to continue. And then I said what I thought I saw, and everyone just freaked out. Brian got on the phone and said, we got to call the police, and we got to. So they're all freaking out. They've called the LAPD, and I'm thinking, well, Jonathan's back at the house now with a .44 Magnum in the bed. LAPD are going to be coming over. This is going to be like the showdown at OK Corral. So I start bolting back to the house to try and warn you, and let you know. And I get it. And
let the cops kill me.
And you had 9 Inch Nails just blaring, and I'm banging on the door.
For a divorce.
I'm banging on the door, and there's no and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, and you're not responding. Nothing's happening, and I'm like yelling out like the cops are, but the music's just blaring. And I thought, well, I got to get out of this house. So I run downstairs. I run out the front. All these cops come around the corner, and they've got rifles and pump action. And they pull their guns.
SWAT team.
They pull their guns on me. And
I know that about this.
Yeah, didn't you know about it?
And
And they're like, on the floor, hands behind your head. And I'm like, ugh. So I'm like this. I'm on the ground, lying down. They all come and surround me. And then who was the lady that worked on the gate? The security lady. Oh, she comes running around. Stella comes running around the corner and goes, that's not Johnathan, that's Joel! And so they all pull up their rifles and they go, where's Johnathan? And I'm like, well, he's in the house.
He's in his bedroom.
So they just all take off. They turned off all the lights.
There was a hole in the door.
Right.
Because I could see lights coming in through that hole in the door. And it was the flashlights downstairs. And I knew that there were cops in the house. So I quickly did all my drugs that I had. I stashed the gun under my pillow.
And so they come in, so I'm waiting outside, this is all going on inside, and then the music stops.
They kicked the door down. There was a SWAT team that kicked my bedroom. They didn't even bother to knock. They kicked my door down. 6 of them in my room going, freeze, 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 freeze. Same treatment you got.
Yeah.
I said, is there any drugs? No, I just did, I told them, I just did them all. I saw your flashlights downstairs, I just did all of them. Because you're not going to find any drugs.
So,
is there a gun? No, then there's no gun. First thing they do is look under my pillow and find it.
There it is. So then Johnathan comes out, handcuffed out onto the front porch, and I'm looking through the gate, and one of them recognizes you from Comedy Central. They're like, hey, aren't you the amazing Johnathan?
I'm off the hook.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. and then Jonathan's like, yeah, I should be able to get out of these handcuffs, huh? And then they all start laughing.
I had him right there, man.
Yeah. So they uncuff him. They bring out the gun outside. These two,
they took my gun. You know who gave me that gun? Hunter S. Thompson gave me that gun. Yes.
Really? Well, they brought it outside, and they're trying to find the serial number on the gun. And I was thinking, well, it's
there wasn't one. Hunter S. Thompson gave it to me.
and so they take the gun. The guy says, the sergeant said it's best you just leave Johnathan. Like we've had a talk with him, and it's best we leave him for the night. So I come back the next morning to check in on him.
Here's where it gets great.
I come in, and I open the door. I'm like, Johnathan.
No, let me tell this part. Let me tell this part.
But you always get the note wrong. What was written on the note?
I know exactly what was written on it. I wrote the note.
Okay, all right.
So anyway, I figured I got nothing to lose at this point. I'm nothing to lose because I was really thinking about shooting myself. So I'm gonna fuck Joel up for calling me, calling the police on me.
I didn't call the police. I
didn't know that. I didn't know that. I hadn't seen you. You took off after that, right?
Yeah, the cops said get
going.
Get going.
So I knew Joel had to come back home because this shit was there, right? So I took stage blood and I smeared it all over my bedroom. I didn't care. The walls, the bedding, everything had blood on it, everything. And I stuffed pillows under the bed with a fake rubber arm sticking out. And a note pinned on my chest of the bloody body under the blankets. And Joel comes in the room and he sees that, and I'm looking at him through the bathroom, the mirror, kitty corner. I can see him in the doorway from the bathroom, and he just turns white. And he stands there for 10 minutes going, Johnathan, Johnathan, Johnathan. He didn't come in the room. He didn't do anything but say my name over and over and over again, like he's in shock, kind of. Finally, he inches toward me, the body, and there's a note. What's it say?
On the note it said, Joel, I couldn't stand listening to your shitty Billy Joel music anymore. I'd be happy.
And he read that and he looked so confused by that. Why would he kill himself for that? And that's when that's the moment I picked the yell out, jump out going, ah! And he's just, it's like that cat the one that stuck to the ceiling, it flipped around and went up. He was shaking so bad. This poor kid. He was
and then we hugged, and I was nearly crying.
And he started crying, and we never mentioned it again.
However, we never mentioned it, but then we'd go on whenever we were on the road. We'd go on radio, and that was his favorite story to tell about.
But we never talked about the deep implications of that.
And then you were, we never talked about it. Yeah,
man to man, we will never talk about it.
But then one night you were with Adam Sandler having dinner at the Rainbow, and I came and caught up with you guys on the tail end, and you introduced me, and Adam turns to me and goes, "Oh, sure, you're Joel, the Suicide Kid."
You're known. You're brand in Hollywood.
But you've enjoyed many, should we say, most of them, there's money involved with a lot of the horrible things you've gone through.
Yeah.
Joel,
from what I paid him, he would do anything for money. He needed money. That's the only way I figured that he would do stupid stuff I bet him to do. I would bet him hundreds of dollars, whether it was an ongoing thing. Every week he'd pull in an extra $400 or $500 just from bets.
Yeah.
Here's what some of them are. I remember. He brought some up yesterday. I totally forgot about. One of them was.
Well, first of all, there was sitting on the chair on the top of the display in Vons. It was like a garden chair.
Yeah, garden chair on top of freezers that they sold. The other one was, I want to get out of Vons. They just painted the wall white by the produce. I want to get out of the store so I can still see that wall. I want to see 3 tomatoes hit the wall. And
there's cameras.
You have to throw them.
Yeah.
I don't care what excuse you give for doing it. You have to. I want to see 3 splat marks, and then you run it out of the store. I'll have the car wait. Sure enough, splat, 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 comes running out. Gets $100.
I just didn't throw it though. I made it look like I was juggling.
Yeah, he said he was juggling and they got out of control.
Out of
They're not going to buy that. They
juggler.
don't splat against the wall.
Wasn't that the one that we had burnt feet?
Yeah, he burned his feet. I told me he had to run up to the top of a sand dune.
This is on Lake
Alex
Mead,
was there. Alex was there on his boat. I think Alex was
Lake Mead.
Lake Mead.
Yeah.
He ran up the sand dune not knowing it was like 130 degrees
summer.
sand. Halfway up, his feet are just burned to shit.
But I thought if I come back, then I'm not getting nothing, so I got to.
So he kept continuing on, and his feet were damaged.
And I got under a little bit of shade by a tree, but then I saw all these marks in the sand from snake marks. And I freaked out and started running back down.
I bet him $1,000 he wouldn't shave his head, and I heard Sandra in the living room, "Oh, Joe, you didn't." I knew right then I lost $1,000. One of them in Philadelphia, there was this one whole city block with an alley of just barely. You had to turn sideways to get down this alley. It was
and this was really late at night.
Passageway, yeah, 2 in the morning, and it got smaller and smaller and smaller and darker and darker. So you saw a little square at the other end where the exit was. And I bet Joe that he wouldn't go all the way through this alley. And halfway through, he's hitting bums, mattresses, and mud.
There's syringes and there's swivel chairs going up. And I'm wedged between the middle, still going down.
You don't know who's in there. It could be bums in there sleeping.
Yeah.
Obviously, the work is there was a mattress. And so he did that one. And then there was a sleeping bag on the side of the road, a crusty, muddy sleeping bag.
We're on the way to the Magic Castle.
And gotta get out of the car. Gotta get out of the car and get in the sleeping bag, slip it up to your neck.
But there's one time at the Magic. There's one time at the Magic because you had to dress in a suit and dress up at the Magic Castle. And I used to always be underage too, and you would make all this makeup and like a fake beard.
I used to make you a fake beard
and a fake ID to get in. I look like Max Maven going gel back hair.
Yeah. And it's the voice that you use. "Hello, I'm Joe Osborn."
But people would come up, like Danny Sylvester would come up and start talking to me, and then you'd realise that, Joel, what the hell? There was another time too that we were in the garage, and we were working on something. I had on these big goggles, these work safety goggles, and you were like, "I'll give you $200 if you wear that to the Magic Castle."
Oh, that's right.
So we're all in a suit, and I'm wearing that, just walking around the castle, watching shows at the bar, and Brian Gillis comes up to me.
Joel. Well, he took more shit than anyone, man. He probably saved my life, truly saved my life during my divorce. He was the level-headed one during that whole thing, and
Not when it comes to $1, apparently.
Although
I remember we were talking the other day about I had tried to quit doing drugs the same time as my divorce, which is not a good idea. You never do. I hadn't finished my downward spiral yet. And, I told Joel said to me. I called your mom. What was it?
Well, no, because I used to talk to your mum, Doreen, just to, let her know that you're all right or what was going on, and she was, like all of us, really worried about you. And we thought, you were coming off drugs, and that wasn't a pretty sight. and it was. I remember I got woken up one morning with you just like tapping at the door. It was like 3 in the morning. I opened it, and you were just slumped in front of my door, holding your wrist. And
Kind of like now?
Yeah. So we got you all bandaged up and got you better. And
because I put my fist through the wall.
Yeah. That was like your signature move, just punching holes in the
Well,
wall.
it was drywall. It was easy.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these dicks that think they can punch and get out of glass. They boom, break the window and come out before the glass falls. Yeah, right.
So we decided that it's best for you to deal with one thing at a time. So
he was giving me the nod I could do my drugs.
Yeah, but I came back. Yeah, we basically had that conversation. I said, "Let's."
What did I do after you said that?
You gave me a big hug and thanked me.
Yeah,
and,
so why she's not
and then John was like, "Just give me a minute." You bolted upstairs. You come back down with a bit of an address written on a bit of paper, and you go, "We got half an hour to get there."
An hour drive.
It was way down past and a half.
But I had the Porsche. I bought my cuntable wife that left me there. We got in that Porsche and so
we're screaming down banging it down the 405.
That's what he said. That's an Australian term.
And we should have taken a right, but you took a left, and we ended up going towards the hood. We're like towards Compton, and this is late at night. We're in a little convertible car, just screaming along. And I said, just pull over, man. This is before you had any, mobile phone, GPS or anything.
Yeah.
So we pulled up near.
I could sense the drugs.
We pulled up near a gas station, and it was all board, like it had bars around it. And the guy wouldn't come out, and I put the address in the little thing, and it goes in, and he reads it, and he's like, "No,
it's a speed dealer's house."
he's like, "You're way off. You got to go back the other way." And so he sort of gave me a
crying, man.
and you were like screaming in the car, like,
"This guy's out of business." He said, "I'm only here for a half hour."
Yeah, and you're like, "Fuck!" And we're just screaming down the road, banging it down the road again. And then we get to this massive junkyard, but it's all boarded up.
It's a junkyard.
It's like something out of Mad Max.
Behind a strip club.
Like Thunderdome.
I can spit that.
And it's got these big corrugated gates that open up, and so we go in this little Herbie Lovebug mobile into this, and
it was a Porsche.
A Porsche, but it was designed by the same guy, the guy that did Porsche.
Yeah.
So the gates close behind us, and these 2 Rottweiler dogs just come running out.
The chain stop them ready to go.
And they're up on the side of the car.
I didn't care about the Rottweilers. The Rottweilers, I would have got in a headlock.
And then this guy comes out of this shanty building within this
a dealer who used his own product.
Yeah. So he comes out. You give him a magic kit, and you both go in.
I come bearing gifts.
Yes. So you two walk into this shanty house. I'm stuck there in this little car with these Rottweiler dogs, like sniffing and scratching at the door. And then he comes out and he goes, "Man, what sort of car is this?" And you're like, "It's a, what was it, 54 Speedster."
1954 Porsche Speedster.
And you're like, "I'll take you for a spin in it." Now the
Joel, get out.
Yeah, it's a two-seater. So I get out of the car. They both take off.
I leave them with the Rottweiler.
I'm there standing in this junkyard. These 2 Rottweilers
grow back.
These 2 Rottweilers growling at me, and I just hear in the distance just from the strip club. And I got to reevaluate my life.
Is that the moment when you went, maybe?
To think I was once back in Australia in my bedroom going, "Wow, it would be incredible to work with the amazing Johnathan." That was full circle. But then I would. Then we moved, but we were like a new town every week. I got to see like so much of America and towns that.
I got to see so many motel rooms.
And we would go to like Tunica, Mississippi. And Billy and I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning and got a bus to Memphis to go to Graceland. And see,
I wasn't up for that.
No, you didn't come on. But
I was up for it, but I just didn't go.
But this is the time when they had the tape recorders, and we were walking around. Billy and I going around with the tape, looking at in the different rooms, and like you're in like the kitchen and go, "This is where Elvis where the cooks would make him his banana fried sandwiches." And Billy just leans over to me and goes, "I don't know if I'm really got the same audio that you." I'll listen to it and it goes, "As you can see out in the fields, the horses would roam free." So every room that Billy was going into had a whole different introduction, different audio.
Billy's he was an 85-year-old comedian.
Legend.
A legend that I basically took out of retirement at the Magic Castle and brought him on the road with us.
Yeah.
And you were friends with Billy
Loved
too.
Billy.
Yeah.
Terrific
He
man.
loved you too, and Sophie knows. But this guy was just amazing. It took him to put him in the worst situations rock and roll
Yeah.
venues. The 85-year-old guy, and people would just shut up and listen to him. They
Yeah.
loved him. They loved him.
And he was like a walking encyclopedia. He knew where every joke was written, who did that first.
Yeah.
And yeah, you couldn't stump him.
No.
But I remember someone once said, Billy's like a continual conversation that you just come in
Yeah,
and
a
out
loop.
of.
It's like a loop tape, and you come in and out of that loop, and wherever you hear it, you've heard the story before. You just got to sit there and wait until the loop gets to a part you haven't heard.
But he was
But
so...
wait, let's talk about Joel.
Yes.
Joel left me. I don't know why, but he came and worked Vegas with me and set my show up and made my show really, really good. And then he went back to Australia and became a comic himself.
Yeah. Well, I used to do street performing on Venice Beach because that's where you started in the streets, and other comedians that I admire, like Eddie Izzard, he started in the streets, and Robin Williams started in the streets. And
so Joel went out there with a tennis racket
and
started doing a contortion routine, and he was a prop comic.
Yeah, and just riffing with people walking by was just, you know.
And he got really good really fast because you do that on the street. You get really
you're
good.
forced, and you're doing like, you know, close to 10 shows a day. And my whole thing was like a lot of the street performers would do like a 45-minute show, and like there'd be like 35 minutes of that would be crowd draw. But I was all about doing like a 20-minute show and just get the flight hours down. And you would never tell me when you were coming down, and I'd just look and there'd be Johnathan standing there in the audience watching, and
like a proud dad.
and
well,
so,
hey, that's my stuffed giraffe. Where did you pick that from my drawer?
So I would so I did Venice for years. We'd just keep on going down there whenever we had a spare weekend in town. I'd be down there street performing.
Yeah.
And then I eventually opened for you in the Nugget.
Yeah, in Vegas. He came and opened for me in Vegas, and he destroyed the audience.
Yeah, and that was like, and I remember I got back to my room, and the entertainment director left a message on my room. The light was flashing, and he was just. And he was just, he said, you know, that was, you know, fantastic. You could work in one of my rooms.
Does it sound like this? Hello, Joel.
Hello, Joel. This is the entertainment director. Johnathan. So that was like, for me, that was the thing that was like the catalyst to go, well, you know, if you're going to do this, Joel, you got to go out there and give it your all.
Well, you saw comics, and so did you. You saw comics every week that you would learn something from every week.
Sure,
we had a different opening act every week, and Sophie would do extended runs with me at that time, but she wasn't the permanent opening act at that time. But you saw a lot of great acts.
When we're on the road, especially, like we would be doing comedy clubs in the middle of, you know, we'd go to Atlanta and
so he saw how it was done right. Pow.
So it was, and that was it. Then I thought, got to go it alone, because, you know, working for you was great, but it was like, you know, 24/7. It was a lot of
personal stuff came into it.
Yeah, well, just there's a lot.
Can't imagine that.
But the whole thing, like, it was like when we were on the road, like when it was just you and I on the road. At that point, this is when the show just expanded, and I'd have to go through the ceilings to install snow machines in order to do this, the cremation of your grandmother, which was hilarious.
Yes.
Rather than doing like a snow thing with
it was
snow,
the ashes
it
of
was
my
ashes
grandmother.
of your grandmother. and then we had like the projector, so it would take me about 3 to 4 hours to set up the show.
The show, the Amazing Johnathan show, found technology.
Yeah,
Joel was there
and it was 7 road cases, and I would go in there by myself first thing in the morning and set it up, and I'd have to reconfigure all the DMX board for the lighting, the intelligent lighting, smoke machines.
Joel made the training video that all the other guys after you have to watch.
Yeah, that's right.
Would they still watch those?
Yeah, the show in the showroom.
Yeah.
But I would be calling the show for blackouts to the person up at the other end of the room in the comedy club, and then I would come out and put the blanket over my head, get the scissors in the head. Then I had a remote sound thing, so I'd be operating the sound cues while doing it while talking with you, getting scissors in the head back behind the.
It's called multitasking.
Yes, yeah. So when we got to Vegas, it was, and the first day I drove out to Vegas was in a truck, a massive U-Haul truck, and we put all the props into to bring it out here for the women.
Whose truck?
We hired it.
Oh.
And it was snowing, and I was going through the San Bernardino hills, and all these cars were just sliding off the side of the road. So.
But I said you threw it with weight.
Yes. That's what got me to Vegas, and they closed the freeway behind us, and that was it. Then you were in Vegas for the next
13 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
But when we opened at the Nugget, everyone said no one pulls downtown. Not since Sinatra has anyone pulled numbers downtown. And every show was sold out. Everyone was coming downtown.
500 seats a night.
Yeah, and it was people couldn't get
living
tickets.
on that money still.
Yeah. I remember seeing the breakdowns each week, and I was like, holy shit.
We're going to show you a clip of Joel's show right now on what he's done with his life. You all know what I've done with mine. There's no clips that could show that. But we're going to show you a clip of Joel performing. Where's this at, Joel?
At the Enmore Theatre. Actually, the theatre that you shot the commercial in.
That's right. Beautiful theatre. It's called the Enmore Theatre, and it's in Melbourne, Australia.
In Sydney.
In Sydney, Australia. Same thing. But it's a great venue, and this is Joel doing it by himself, ladies and gentlemen. Joel Osborn. Watch.
But I made a discovery, another discovery. It's an answer to a question that's eluded us males for many a century. And that question is what it is you ladies are attracted to in a man. All right? Now, don't get me wrong, you ladies, you tell us what you're attracted to, but they're lies. All right? They did a recent worldwide survey, and they interviewed women throughout the whole world, and unanimously they said the number one thing that they're attracted to in a male is a sense of humor. That's bullshit. Fuck it, I'm living proof of that. Yeah, laugh it up, lady. I'm going to share it with you now. The main thing that you ladies are initially attracted to when you see a man is the way that that guy looks. All right? And I'll prove it to you now. Say some of you ladies are out after the show, you know, you're at a bar, you're ordering a drink, a guy walks into that bar, ladies, he smiles at you and say, looks like Brad Pitt. You call that flirting. Now that same guy walks into that bar, walks up to you and smiles. However, this time he looks like Dick Smith. That's called stalking. I think stalkers get a pretty bad rap. I gave it a go once. Fuck, it's difficult. It is, man. I was stalking this girl once and shit, it was just like, so much time goes into that. You don't have any time for your personal life, you know? People are like, what do you do for a profession, mate? Oh, I'm a professional stalker. Fuck, I gotta be somewhere. I was stalking this one girl once and, you know, got to the point of the relationship though where it became all about her. I'd go everywhere she wanted to go. My mates are like, have you even met her, Joel? I'm like, nah. No, but I can't leave her, you know. I put too much into the relationship just to walk away. That's why I, you know, follow her home every night. She walks by herself through that park. I'm there, watching. For her safety, you know, because I care about her, her fucking safety. You can't be too careful these days, you know. There's a lot of fucking wackos out there. You ever want to freak someone out, do that, just go, all right, yeah, catch you later, see ya. And do it if there's like a bush behind you, it works even better, like.
You're about to be mesmerized. It's yellow. It's phallic. It's the magical gravity sensation that's sweeping the nation. It's Banana Shiggy!
Like, I don't know what it is, and it's like the coolest thing ever. I don't know, but like, I can do it.
You don't need training. You barely need practice. You don't even need hands. Banana Shiggy! Once you watch our instructional mind-blowing DVD, you'll learn moves like the Thunder Noodle Wand, the Duty Poop Shoot, the Hippity Flippity, and many, many more. Buy a bunch to up your skills to the max. Eyes believe.
It's my first time.
We are back. That was Joel Osborn at the Enmore Theatre. I say you need props. He went up and gave the props away and started doing pure stand-up, and you don't do any props anymore?
No, not really, because the props, you know, they were solid and I did them for many years, but for me, I just felt like I needed a new challenge. I needed to, you know, just get rid of everything and just stand there with a microphone. You know, and that was,
I've never heard of that. What is this new challenge thing you speak of?
I can't believe you'd say that.
Well, I just felt, but just by doing, like, and sometimes, like, I do a portion in my theatre show now where it's like, I transport the audience back to Venice Beach to where I began, and it's like a performance piece with a soundscape and everything, and I interact with different characters and people walking by on the boardwalk, and I bring back some of the street act, but no, the majority of the show is just, yeah, straight stand-up.
I forgive you anyway.
So if you want a new challenge, maybe you don't tell Johnathan because he just might think of one.
Yeah, sure.
I got a new challenge for you.
Yeah.
There was one today.
Well,
Last night.
Well, Penny. See,
I wanted Penny to get in Joel's
but
bed.
why did I not want her to get in my bed?
Because she had just farted.
I remember we were in a town. I can't remember where
And
it
I
was.
said, get
It
in
was-
Joel's bed and do that same thing. I'll give you $100. Joel
Yeah.
wouldn't let her. They're fighting like brother and sister. She's trying to get in the room past him, and he won't let her near the room.
Do you remember when we were playing that club and there was a comedian that was opening for you, and he was a young guy, kind of good looking,
Yeah.
and Penny was just smitten with him, and we were hanging out throughout the.
We're sitting at the top of the car.
We're sitting on the, and we're all looking up
At the
at the stars and the moon, and
Then
she's
your
just sitting
Penny
there,
rips
and it's really, and they're kind of nice close, and Penny's, I'm really, getting close to this guy. This is all looking good, and we're all looking, and we're like contemplating life. I think one of us said, it's amazing when you look into the stars, you just realise the insignificance of us as humans, and it's, I wonder what else
That
is
was
out there.
Penny's cue.
Yeah, and then Penny just goes. and it was just dead silent. And just then we all knew she's ruined her chances.
Yeah.
She ain't getting anywhere.
She sabotages every relationship.
Yeah.
Well,
But it was just reverberated off the
Yeah.
bonnet of the car.
We're not talking about Penny Wiggins, by the way. We're talking about another Penny.
No. Actually, remember the first night that we met Penny at the Hermosa Beach Comedy Magic
Yes.
Club, and Nutmeg.
Gordy Brown was
Yeah,
backstage.
Gordy Brown was on, and she was opening for him, and and then
I had a crush on her, man. I wanted to date her until I heard her fart.
Yeah. But the Nutmeg the Clown, that's what we used to.
Nutmeg the Clown.
That was her.
She was a scary bitch. And still is. But you guys were like brother and sister.
Yeah,
You guys loved each other.
Well, we used to-
It was always fun with these two. They were always
Johnathan
fun.
would always sit up in first class, and Penny and I would be back in coach. And
Where he is now.
So we would, we would always have a laugh.
Yeah,
Love.
that bastard. Yeah, look at him, he's getting lobster.
You used to bring food down to us, though. You'd get extra and bring
I
us
was
down.
good. I was
Yeah.
feeding my children.
Yeah.
Joel, it's good to have you back in the States. I'm glad that you came back to visit me.
Yeah,
You came back to
likewise.
see me. And he's going to see my mom in Detroit next. He's flying
Yeah.
to Detroit to
And
see
the family.
my family. That's nice. They love you. I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Osborn, my co-host Sophie Evans. We'll see you again next week on Bringing It. Good night.